Now before I talk about this lens, I just want to let you guys know that LAOWA did send me this lens to review, and I do get to keep this lens. This is actually a sample version. It says it right down there. And this is my first video with the Panasonic Lumix S5 Mark II X with the 35mm 1.8 lens on there. And it's in full autofocus face tracking basically. So it's going to be interesting to see how well this camera does. And my B camera, which is over there, is the Leica SL2S with the 85mm 1.8 lens on it. But that's in manual focus. It's actually focused in this area around here. And this video will be edited on my iPad Pro with Final Cut Pro. So please let me know down in the comments section if you notice anything's a bit off or any of the colors or the audio. It'd be really interesting to see what you guys think after I've edited this video on my iPad. This lens is designed for full frame sensors, but it will also work on APS-C or Super 35 sensors like my red V-Raptor here, which is a Super 35 version. This lens turns into a 42mm on this camera, and I will be doing a short video with this lens on the V-Raptor to see what it's like. This is a full manual lens. There are no electronic contact points at the back, so there's no communication between the lens and the camera, and it's full manual focus. It has about a 90-degree focus throw, which is quite short for shooting videos, but for photos it's fine. It can jump in and out of focus quite easily because it's such a short focus throw. You can go from one point to the other quite quickly. The aperture ring goes from f1.2 all the way up to f16, and there are full stops. So there's no half stops between the aperture, so you'll jump say from 1.4 to f2, which is fine on a lens like this. And you also have a little switch here, which you click, and it declicks the aperture ring, which is great for video, so you don't get those juddery aperture changes during video. It's a nice smooth transition between your apertures. The closest focusing on this lens is 50 centimeters, and it goes all the way to infinity. You have hard stops at either end of the focus, and you have a focus scale in there as well. The lens has a full metal body and it has a metal lens mount on the back and the 62mm front filter thread. It also comes with this really nice lens hood, and it does actually have a lens hood cover that goes on here. I've got it here somewhere. I don't know where I put it, but if I can find it, I'll put a photo up now of the actual cover. But it's a really nice lens hood, and that's metal as well. Now another nice feature with this lens, it has the red dot to line up the lens. A lot of lenses these days have the red dot on the actual mount, not on the body, but this lens actually has that red dot, so it makes it very easy to mount the lens on your camera. As you can see, it fits on the Canon R5 really well. It balances nicely. It's got a little bit of weight to it, but it's not over heavy. But it does look really good on the R5, and it's very easy to operate on the R5. I will talk about one problem I had with the lens on the R5 after I show you some photos, but it wasn't nothing major. It's probably just me being fussy. So this is a 28mm f1.2 lens, and this is my 28mm f2 Summicron lens for my Leica rangefinder cameras, but this can be adapted to any camera. Now 28mm is my favorite focal length. I just love shooting 28mm. 24mm I don't mind, but I do find sometimes it's a bit too wide and you do get a bit of distortion, and 35mm can be a bit too tight for me. So 28mm has always been the perfect focal length. You don't get much distortion with it, and you can capture quite a bit of the environment and also the subject you're photographing. So this 28mm lens on the Canon R5 kind of felt the same as my 28mm on my rangefinder cameras. So now you're going to see some photos taken with this lens and the Canon R5. And all of the photos that were shot at f1.2 that I can remember, I've actually marked on the photos. All of the photos you've just seen are direct out of the Canon R5. I've done no editing to the photos at all. And the time lapse was shot from the 19th floor of the Gracery Hotel in Shinjuku. That was basically my mum and sister's room. We had booked them, and same time we booked our rooms, and ours was like on the 5th floor and theirs was on like the 19th floor. So I borrowed their room to shoot that time lapse. Really nice lens to shoot time lapses with. Something special about a 28mm that I really like, and being a manual focus lens, it's very easy to set up. Just set it to infinity basically and off you go. Now, one issue I did have is not the lens's fault, it's the camera, or me. Could be me possibly. I don't like manual focusing with the Canon R5. Everything about the Canon R5 is amazing. It's got some of the best autofocusing out there. It's a great camera to use, but for manual focusing, it's not. When you use the magnifying button on the back and zoom in, focus peaking disappears, and the focus peaking on this camera is not the best. So it's quite hard to focus this lens, especially f1.2, on the Canon R5. I should have got the lens in L mount and put it on my SL2S, because I think that's the best camera out there to manual focus with. It has the best EVF, the best focus peaking. So I didn't really enjoy manually focusing at f1.2, 1.4 with this lens on this camera. But again, it's not the lens's fault, probably not even the camera's fault, it's probably me. I just don't enjoy manually focusing on the Canon R5. Pointing the camera directly at the sun is not advisable, but it's a good way to test for lens flare. As you can see in this video clip, it controls lens flare really well, and there was no filter on the front of this lens. I didn't have any NDs or anything, it's just the front of the lens pointed straight at the sun. Only a couple of times lens flare did creep into the photos, only when the camera is at the right angle to the strong light source. I couldn't replicate it, it just happened every now and then. To be truthful, it happened very rarely, maybe 1 or 2 shots, as you can see here. So here's some video clips shot with this lens on the Canon R5. Now the reason I didn't use my V-Raptor is because that's a Super 35 sensor. This is a full frame lens. I thought it was best to test it for video on a full frame camera. Now there will be a video coming out soon with this lens on the V-Raptor, which basically turns into a 42.5mm lens. As you can see, the footage looks really nice, and this is a really nice focal length to shoot with. The only downside to this lens is its focus breathing. This video here was shot at f1.2. A 28mm f1.2 full frame lens for $599 US. Really good build quality, actually amazing build quality for the price, and top-notch optics. This lens produces some really nice images even at f1.2. Some of the images and videos will be in a Dropbox folder, and a link to that Dropbox folder will be down below in the description. If you have any questions about the lens, please leave me a comment down below. So that's it for this video. I really hope you guys have enjoyed it, and as always, thank you so much for watching.